Get your eardrums ready, ladies and gentlemen, from the right. Good morning, Jonathan. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Jonathan Whaley, an extraordinary gentleman in the Hawker Hunter. Without doubt, the most beautiful jet fighter designed by anybody at any time. Remember I was talking about the designer of the Hawker Hurricane, Sidney Cam? Same guy. Sidney Cam designed this as well, and just look at it. That is a pretty ship. The colour scheme Jonathan's chosen to paint his aircraft in he calls the speed of heat, because that's what he says this aircraft flies at. I call it the Zoo Mice Lolly, which he hates. But it surely is. During the 1950s, the first 6 marks of Hunter, Hunters 1 through 6, entered service with the Royal Air Force as their standard day fighter, armed with 4 30mm cannons under the nose. A very special feature of this aeroplane: when is a fighter aeroplane vulnerable? When it's sitting on the ground, being refueled and rearmed. So, Hawkers got around that problem. They put all the guns and the ammunition in a big magazine. You see those 2 blisters on the bottom of the fuselage just behind the cockpit? Well, that's where the gun tray, the big magazine, sits. The whole thing just drops straight out. So what that means is, instead of trying to rearm each of the guns, what you do, just drop the whole magazine out, shove a new one full of ammunition back in. High pressure refueling means this aircraft's on and off the ground in under 2 minutes. British government used to be very careful with engine manufacturers. The odd numbers of Hawker Hunter were powered by the Bristol Siddeley Sapphire turbojet. The even numbers powered by the Rolls-Royce Avon, just in case one of the engines turned out to be duff. Believe it or not, that's how we used to build aeroplanes in this country. Rolls-Royce Avon won out, and that's the engine you're listening to now. 10,600 pounds of thrust. As he was turning across us there, did you hear a sort of noise, a sort of ghostly howl? That's the famous blue note. The air intakes for the Rolls-Royce Avon engine are actually in the leading edges of the wing, just next to the fuselage. They're triangular, and at certain angles of attack and certain power settings, they make this lovely sort of woo. They call it the blue note, because it sounds like someone saying blue, apparently. As I said, the first 6 marks of Hunter were day fighters. The T Mark 7, 2-seat side-by-side jet trainer for the Royal Air Force. Believe it or not, they were introduced in the 50s. They were still training Buccaneer crews to use laser designator equipment for the first Gulf War in 1991. That's how good this aeroplane was. It lasted for over 40 years in frontline service. T Mark 8 was for the Royal Navy, also trained Sea Harrier pilots for the Falklands. And this aeroplane is the FGA Mark 9. I don't know if you saw that. This is Jonathan Whaley's style for you. As he made that slow pass, he actually had the canopy back and was waving to us, very World War II fighter pilot style. That's Jonathan all over for you, that is. He loves this aeroplane. Aside from the four 30mm cannons under the nose, there's four hard points under the wings, can carry a wide variety of rockets and bombs for ground attack work. But you can see Jonathan's got a pair of drop tanks to extend his range. Rolls-Royce Avon being a very, very thirsty engine. It's just got a pair of fuel tanks on there, but the left-hand one has got a compartment in the front for his overnight bag. Of course, when this aircraft was in service, nobody ever thought that somebody was going to have to travel around with it, taking it to air shows, so there's no baggage space. So that's what the front end part of the left-hand tank is for. That's where he puts his toothbrush and so on. Full power, 720 knots. That's pretty quick. The ejection seat had started to count down and it was going to fire the seat through the roof of the hangar he was in. Now obviously he didn't want to be on a seat when he did that. Didn't have time to get out, so he managed to cram himself down in the space, wrap himself around the stick, get his knees up one foothole, one set of rudder pedals, get his head and shoulders down the other, and get just clear of the seat. So when it blew out, it went out of the aircraft through the hangar roof, but it didn't hurt him. And when they got him to try and do it again, there was no way he could get physically clear of the seat. It was sheer fear that drove him into that tiny little space. Did see operational service with the Royal Air Force in Aden, up in the mountains against the RIF terrorists, performing ground attack missions. Isn't that pretty?